Coach, it's Ross Tucker filling in for Dan, and I got to tell you, these guys are kind of bumming me out this morning. None of the Danettes are all that fired up for tonight's matchup. They feel like it's lacking a little bit. Are you excited as I am for tonight?
I'm very excited, and they should be out here, Ross. The town is buzzing. Everyone wants to see that Super Bowl flag unveiled. They want to see what their new quarterback is going to do. And the Panthers side of it, they're looking for redemption. And they've got a chance to start this season out and say, hey, we're going to get to 1-0, and we're going to show people that we're the favorites for the Super Bowl. So I think it's an intriguing matchup. There is a lot of excitement here, and I think people are just ready for the regular season to start.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm fired up about a Super Bowl rematch to see what Siemian can do, to see the reigning MVP. I don't know what these guys are talking about. I'm curious, Tony. I don't think I've ever seen Trevor Siemian do a press conference or do anything with the media. Did he sit down with one of you guys or Bob? Has he been made available to you guys?
He actually did. He had an interview with Bob. We're going to air it tonight. I think people will be interested in what they see from Trevor Siemian. And I'll tell you, the buzz here is from all their players, all their coaches, that this guy, you don't know him, but he has that it. He has what we're looking for. They have complete confidence in him. I have to say, I'm not sold yet, Ross. I want to see it, but everything you hear from the Denver organization, they believe in him. They expect Trevor Siemian to lead them to a Super Bowl.
You know, I think, Coach, maybe just because I was an undrafted guy, I just have so much respect for Kubiak and for John Elway with going with them. You know, it takes some serious guts or stones to cut Mark Sanchez, who's a little more of a known commodity, and go with the second-year, seventh-round pick. It says a lot about Trevor Siemian, but to me it also says a lot, Coach, about the confidence that Gary Kubiak and John Elway have in themselves and their own decision-making process to not really care what a guy's pedigree might be.
It really does, Ross, and you're right. This is not a team that, okay, we're rebuilding and we want to get things going. This is a team that everyone knows is capable of going to the Super Bowl. And you said, okay, we have a veteran player, Mark Sanchez, who started a lot of games, played in playoff games, has been to the AFC Championship game. We moved up in the draft to take a quarterback, number one, that we feel like is the franchise quarterback, the quarterback of the future, and we've got him on the roster too. But this guy, we feel, gives us the best chance to win. So that's who we're going with, and that's who we're riding with to go to the Super Bowl. I think it takes a lot of courage. I don't know that I would be ready to do that myself, to turn a Super Bowl-capable team over to a guy who's never thrown a pass in the NFL. But they're doing it, and they believe it. They totally believe it, Ross.
Talking with Tony Dungy, he'll be all over NBC tonight. Football Night in America is the opening night of America's passion. It's the Panthers and the Broncos. How long do you think his leash is, Tony? I feel like there's an expectation out there that Paxton Lynch will play at some point this year. If Siemian struggles in the first half, is his leash that short that they could put Paxton Lynch in the second half?
I do not think so. Not from hearing these guys talk, not from listening to Gary Kubiak. There could come a time, if they're struggling and they're not winning games or they're really struggling on offense in October, maybe something happens. But they feel like they've got a great defense, a great running game. Yes, Trevor Siemian's going to have to grow into this role, and he may have an off quarter, an off game, but I think he's their guy.
I want you to put your defensive coordinator hat on. I know it's been a while, but I want you to put your defensive coordinator hat on. You're going against Trevor Siemian. What's the game plan, and are you just watching preseason from the last 2 years? Did you even maybe have them pull some tape from Northwestern 2014? Feel the excitement? I mean, what all are you doing to get ready to play against a guy that's never played?
You absolutely are doing that. We had this situation when I was in Tampa. We played Dallas. Quincy Carter started the first game of the year, and we didn't know a lot about him. We watched all the preseason tape. We watched some tape from University of Georgia. We wanted to see what this guy was all about. But the plan is going to be very simple. Put the ball in Trevor Siemian's hand. Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, that front seven, you got to do the job. We've got to stop C.J. Anderson, stop that running game, make them throw the ball 25 times. That's the game plan, and they don't think Trevor Siemian can beat them throwing 25 times. What they don't want is C.J. Anderson to have 130 yards, and Denver has 180 yards rushing. Trevor Siemian is 9 for 15 for 100 yards, and they win the game 17 to 14. They don't want that to happen. They want him to have to win the game.
Tony, what did you make of Ron Rivera's complaints this week about having to play in this opening night game?
I hope he's playing possum, and I hope he hasn't aired that to his team. I hope he said, you know what, I'm going to complain about this, but guys, we want this opportunity. We want to go out there. The only way you get to guaranteed to play at home in the first game is win your game in the Super Bowl. You win the Super Bowl, you know you're playing at home. If you don't win the Super Bowl, anything can happen. You have to go where they tell you to go. And in my opinion, Ron Rivera should embrace that and say, you know what, we're excited to go and show people we're a better team than we showed in the Super Bowl. We're excited to go on the road and get our first win, and we're glad we're going to Denver. That's the way I would have approached it.
A couple other things around the league I want to get your thoughts on. The Sam Bradford trade obviously was a huge one this week. Want to get your thoughts on it from both teams' perspective, and maybe in particular, if you're Mike Zimmer, when do you start Bradford? Do you start him on Sunday, or do you let Shaun Hill get at least one game?
I think you get Sam Bradford into your building as soon as you can. You pump all the information to him. He meets with Norv Turner all week, and if he's ready to go and feels comfortable operating the offense, you put him in, because you've told your team when you traded the number one draft choice that's our guy. So the sooner he gets in there, the better you're going to be. Now, if he's not comfortable and he goes through, hasn't developed a rapport with the receivers, Shaun Hill gives you a better chance to win week one than you go with Shaun. But you get Sam Bradford in there week one if possible, and if not, week two for sure.
Also wanted to ask you about Colin Kaepernick. I'm just curious, Tony, if he was on your roster, how much would you be embracing what he's doing versus being concerned about it being a distraction for your football team?
Well, I think you talk about that as a family and as a team. We're not going to have this as a distraction. We're going to be united in supporting one of our guys. And you know, you get these all the time. It may not be something as big in this magnitude as the national anthem, but there are things that happen that you've got to stay together and you've got to support each other. And I think that's what Chip Kelly is going to do. That's what they have done, and the 49ers have done it. I'm sure they've discussed it with Colin, and they're ready to move forward.
You'll also be in Arizona on Sunday night as the Arizona Cardinals host the New England Patriots and Jimmy Garoppolo. I know you've already started to prep and study for that game as well. How do you think Garoppolo will do, and how do you think he looked in the preseason?
He did a good job in the preseason, and what you have to understand about Bill Belichick, he is the master at doing this, at taking backup players, substitutes, and tailoring his system to what they do well and minimizing their weaknesses. And, yes, this is the quarterback position, the most important position on the field, but he'll do it the same way. And they did it in the preseason. They threw the ball quick. They used Garoppolo's mobility to do different things. They will have a system that fits him, but they're going to come out and play great defense. They're going to run the ball. They're going to use their big tight ends, give them easy throws, and they're going to be fine on offense. No, it's not going to be Tom Brady. Everything is not going to be relying on the quarterback, but they will have an offensive game plan that really highlights Jimmy Garoppolo's talents.
Tony, have you made your Super Bowl picks yet?
I have not. I really don't like to do that until kind of mid-September when you get to see people and how they mesh. I'll say this. You look at Carolina, and they have a good defensive unit. They've got the MVP. Their quarterback is back. They've got all the weaponry to go. That's who I kind of look at. Who's got their quarterback in place? Who's got a defense that can get there? You could look at Carolina. You look at Seattle. You look at possibly Green Bay. AFC side, I think you still have to look at New England. They'll have Tom Brady back in 4 weeks. Pittsburgh, I think, is going to be better on defense. They've got their quarterback in place. But you have to see how all that meshes. So I guess call me in a month. I can tell you.
Is there any team that you like to kind of come out of nowhere like Carolina did potentially?
You know, I've living in Florida, I've heard the buzz about Jacksonville. I really like Gus Bradley and what he's brought to the table. And they have put pieces in place and haven't had a great deal of success over the last 2 years, but the pieces are coming together. They've got a dynamic passing game, 2 great receivers. I think they're going to be better on defense. They will have some young defensive players. I like where Jacksonville is, and I think they've got a chance to make some noise this year.
Tony, thanks so much for coming aboard the Continental Tire Coach's Corner.
Hey, Ross, it's great to be with you. We're happy to have Dan out here and looking forward to tonight.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.